So what is up with the H2D? What is 3D Systems doing, and are they going broke? And what do I mean when I say portals? All that and more today on the Slant 3D podcast, the show about 3D printing and our place inside the industry. Today's episode is brought to you by Teleport. Teleport is our print-on-demand application that allows you to plug your e-commerce store directly into our giant 3D print farm. No longer do you have to change nozzles and pack boxes just because you want to start up an Etsy business. All you have to do is connect Teleport into your store, and then when you get an order, we will print it and ship it straight to your customer for you, so that you can focus on creating awesome items and living your life and spending your money as we do all the work of printing and shipping your parts for you. So go ahead and check out Teleport today over at slantpod.com, that's slantpod.com, and see why more than 3,000 other businesses are using Teleport to help them grow and start. All right, guys, so first piece of news, 3D Systems. Their financials have come out. Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Turns profit amid revenue decline. This is per 3dprint.com. Has reported its financial results for the second quarter of 2025, showing a drop in revenue but a sharp improvement in profitability, driven by cost reductions, efficiency gains, and strong performance in key markets. Well, that's true of everything. They had revenue of $94.8 million for the quarter, a 16% drop compared to the $113 of last year. Healthcare solutions, which included medical and dental 3D printing products, materials, and services, fell 8%. to $45 million. By the way, healthcare solutions are half of their revenue. The decline was mainly due to weaker demand in the dental segment, especially from customers in the aligner market. Half of the aligner market went out of business last year. It wasn't Smile Direct, but Smile Direct and Invisalign. One of them went out. I can't remember which it was. I think it's Smile Direct. Meanwhile, its industrial solutions segment, covering 3D printing systems, materials, and services for aerospace, defense, automotive, and other manufacturing sectors, dropped 23% to $49.8 million, mainly due to reduced capital spending in markets that sell directly to consumers. Economically, in general, people are not doing R&D, so they're not buying new 3D printers. The health services, the aligner market, continues to kind of exist because while that is going to soften a bit from people being tighter with their money, industrial companies are just pulling back on stuff. Like, why do we need a 3D printer? We got to figure out how to build a factory on this side so we get around tariffs. We're not going to mess with 3D printing right now. It's not ready. That's the thought that a corporate person has. In addition to the sales decline, gross profit margin was 38.1%, down from 41.6% a year earlier. The company said the decline was partly due to a less favorable product mix following the sale of its Geomagic software business earlier in the quarter. They had a net income of $104.4 million, a major turnaround from a $27 million loss in Q2 of 2024. This a $25.7 million pre-tax gain from selling the Geomagic business and an $8.1 million gain from repurchasing debt at a discount. Late in the quarter, the company made major changes in its finances. It paid off $88 million in debt, pushed most of its remaining debt payments out to 2030, and bought back 8 million shares to give existing shareholders a larger stake in the company. Operating expenses fell to $51 million from $73.5 million, thanks to restructuring moves announced in March. Consolidating operations, yada yada, it saved over $20 million in operation expenses during the quarter and expects the cost-cutting plan to continue into mid-2026. While the overall revenue was down, some areas showed strong growth. Medical technology sales, especially in orthopedic procedures and trauma-related surgeries, rose 13% and 16% from the previous quarter. Aerospace and defense sales jumped 84% compared to Q2 2024 and 53% from Q1, now generating over $30 million annually, which we just discussed. The dental business was down 3%. They work with Align Technology, Invisalign. So, good for them. 3D Systems has been in a rough spot for a while, but they sold off a chunk of stuff they didn't need. They got $100 million from that, paid off a bunch of their debt, and then cleaned up operations in generally. For a company as large as 3D Systems to do a turnaround that drastic in a single year is really impressive and good for them. Now, how many liabilities they still have, I don't know. And I don't know if they went to net profit on this. I think it was only gross profit on it all there. So I'm still not, wait a second. I talked about a loss before from last quarter. Yeah, I don't know. They don't show the full financials on there. So as Warren Buffett says, EBITDA is bullshit. So pretty much all these numbers come from an EBITDA sheet, but that has nothing to do with net or the other earnings after interest and taxes and so on and so forth, which are all fairly major expenses, even if they did buy off a whole bunch of debt. But even so, to go from losing 23 million to doing a lot better than that, yeah, it is EBITDA because they say they're netting whatever 100 million there. I apologize for being so squishy on these guys. I generally don't do that, but overall, it's a good turnaround to just have a lot more resources around, a lot more longevity, and in strong segments too, because aerospace is awesome. Healthcare is awesome. Those are great markets to be in, to where they could sell a lot of machines to people at really high margins and do really well. So good for them. All right, next piece of news. Bambu Lab targets the enterprise market with new H2D Pro printer per 3dprint.com. Okay. I'm not going to talk about the H2D in detail. We're not going to do a review of it. That is not what this channel is about. We do not care. It does not matter. This has nothing to do with business of it. I don't like company machine announcements. That all being said, very recently on one of the previous podcasts, I talked about how it was weird that the H2D originally had a laser cutter on it and all the rest of it. It's less weird now that they have focused it in on a particular area and built out all the other functionality to basically air gap this machine. It is sort of hilarious though too, that they have a literal switch on like the Ethernet port that comes with this one. Upgraded nozzle, all the things. I'll let you guys look at the features. Again, we're not going to talk about that. But one little piece of nuance I would like to throw into this is that Bambu is moving up market. They're creating a more expensive machine for a higher cost clientele. This is for services, for internal print farms and that kind of stuff. It costs $4,000, give or take a bit. But that is indicative of the growth leveling out at the main consumer level. They have the A2, got everybody who's a cheapo. They have the P1P, got everybody who's middle market who wants good quality, and now they're moving up from that. But that means that they can't do anything else with P1P. So there's not really an upgrade coming to that one because they're like, we got it, we're good. Now, that does not mean to imply that Bambu is resting on their laurels. Bambu is an exceptionally aggressive company, which is so awesome to see in so many ways because 3D printing companies have never been defined as aggressive. And it's nice to see someone operate like a startup and just go and run and not stop and take every advantage they can and go with it and build really good technology and then have hit after hit. Like, good for them. But they've bottomed out the market and they've sold all the consumer machines they can to where they don't know where they can run from there. Otherwise, they would release another A2 type of machine where they could further drop the cost or optimize it more and that kind of stuff. But Bambu isn't doing that because they're like, it's a $200 machine, it's fine. And the P1P is a $500 machine, that's fine. Here's a couple $1,000 machine, it's good. Like, they're making a good quality product for the market and they don't see the benefit of diluting their brand by making an even cheaper one that costs $100, which will never exist and nobody wants that because there's kind of a physical item first principles limit to going cheaper than $200 on a printer just because of component cost and movement. But anyway, but yeah, just to have them make effectively an enterprise machine that is really harping on security so that people feel okay putting parts into it, because that's the primary inhibitor that Bambu has right at this point, is that how do you trust them? and they're very actively working to get you to trust them so that more people buy their machines and they're just around because they're a branding company. But anyhow, that's the update to that. New update to that. That makes more sense to me than the stupid laser cutter on it. Just making a high-grade enterprise-style machine that they, for some reason, threw a laser cutter onto. I don't know why that happened, but a high enterprise machine that they can charge more money for, have higher value for it, heat it up, and give better security. That makes total sense. That's perfect for Bambu. Good on them. Laser cutter's still stupid. Okay. Moving on. Oh, there was a quote here. Right here. The company is also giving users, this is in regards to the H2D, the company is also giving users support to develop and integrate their own software tools. Companies can therefore come up with their own fleet management software or integrate the printers into existing systems. Yeah. So the software tools are coming out. They kind of had this. I mean, Bambu Connect allows you to integrate with the machines, but I assume that this SDK is closer to like the Ethernet level and the local network management and that kind of thing. But I haven't gone into the details of it. But Bambu is used in print farms, lots of places. A lot of people run Bambu machines at print farms. But I don't, as a professional print farmer, not a professional print farmer, but an organization that builds these systems, we've never considered Bambu machines viable for print farms for a number of kind of key abilities. But also, I was always kind of curious, would Bambu pursue print farms? And I don't think they are with this. They certainly sell a bunch of printers to print farms, but they sell way more to consumers. They've always been a consumer product company. This kind of breaks that, and the SDK kind of breaks that, but I don't think it's a big deviation of like, oh, we're going to start building tens of thousands of machines to build giant print farms. I wouldn't put it past Bambu, because again, aggressive company, and they'll go where water will run. But there has yet to be a company that has explicitly built a print farm machine solely for print farms and expect that to be the primary market, mainly because print farms just aren't ubiquitous enough yet. But that being said, there's going to be a lot of print farm machines. I mean, we think we have to build 1.5 million machines in the next 5 to 10 years or so, probably closer to 5. I think I'm underestimating the exponential in that timeline. But yeah, we have to get to 1.5 million machines ourselves alone. And then there will be other print farms who will want to go to similar sizes. But like, yeah, right now, like Teleport supports about 3,000 businesses. We've worked with thousands of production clients prior to that. And yeah, the main print farm here in Boise is spec'd out for 3,000 machines. So we got to build 500 more factories like this one in order to get to where we want to go and to have the level of distribution that we want. So there's going to need to be a lot of printers there. Obviously, we make our own. We do qualify third-party machines to work inside the print farm, but there's a problem with third-party machines in print farms. And I've talked about that before, so I'll let that sit. But anyhow. Okay, company updates here. Let's see. Tangled. Let's go ahead and go right into Tangled. So, Tangled. Boy, golly, are we caught up. It's so weird to say. I never say that on Tangled. It's always like, oh, we're behind and oh, the things, whatever it was. No, we're caught up. And we're building inventory right now to stay ahead. But the reason we're caught up is because we were basically kind of matching demand there for a period. Well, we just broke loose some machinery that doubled capacity basically overnight, maybe even more than doubled capacity. We haven't had the measurement. It's only been operating for about a week or two now. But the extrusion line for Tangled is operating effectively 24/7 without much human intervention. Person has to check in on it about every 6 to 10 hours. But beyond that, the line runs automatically and just keeps on cranking out filament, which is so nice because it wasn't a big lift to do. People overestimate automation. They over-index on what automation is. We have done the robot arms and filament before. We did that years ago. It's overcomplicated and not necessary. Filament extrusion and creation of a line of plastic is a very, very simple process. And the only reason it's not is because people overcomplicate it. It is a hot tube squirting out a line of filament. Automating that shouldn't be a difficult thing. Took us a while because we had to find the right machines for it all and also kind of integrate them into the line when the lines don't want those. But we finally got them figured out. We built a custom spool. We got a new winder finally working and wired to the correct voltage, all those kind of things, and just tweaked it all. So now the extrusion line runs continuously, and there's very few points of failure on it. Right now, we're actually tuning a thing on the winding machine. It did screw up a whole mess of filament last night, but that's okay. Either way, like I say, the production capacity of it all has been 2x'd for a single line. And I'm pretty sure we can get about 3x out of it before we're done with this, to where it's just running continuously. We're getting to that. We are also, like I mentioned before, in Tangled, we are getting Bambu compatible spools in for that will be auto wound as well. So hopefully the 1 kg spools have a big old price drop coming down here at some point fairly soon. But yeah, so that's happening. But Tangled is like rolling now. We're way ahead of you guys. So go order what you want. We also removed that we temporarily had caps on number of spools per order. We got rid of that. You can go ahead and order as much as you want. Go for it. Go ahead and break us. I'm not scared much. But a lot of print farms would order like 50 to 100 3-kilogram spools at a time. So anyhow, but yeah, so you can get whatever you want over there. The filament's still good, still $10 for members. So that's all there. We also got our spool supplier kind of straightened out, so they're rolling better. We probably will be releasing some extra stuff over to Tangled. And the Tangled website has been updated. There is a lot of kind of residual stuff over there because we're just like, post the product and we can't get back to there to update. Pre-orders aren't a thing or whatever else it was. It's getting attention again because we have time to come back around to it. August is the month where nobody does anything, so that's when we do all our stuff. But that's Tangled. Okay, now the fun stuff. Okay. I have been teasing the last few weeks a feature that is coming out on Teleport that is really freaking sick. Really sick. Oh, you guys are going to love it so much. It's going to, the amount of power in your hands when you get this is going to be absurd if you are an entrepreneurial type of a person. I'm not going to go into great detail about it. Well, wait, I'm going to hold that for just a little bit before I'm going to get some other Teleport stuff here. Then I'll come back to that. The big release is coming. Feedback for everybody. Last week I announced that we were going to kill orange inside of Teleport. A lot of folks reached out and made a very reasonable statement that Halloween is coming up. And in all fairness, we were looking at past metrics and not future metrics, and that's fair. Orange will not be removed from Teleport. We will keep orange around through to the end of Halloween, and we will judge how it has done after a full year and decide if we deprecate it. There are additional third-party parts coming to Teleport very soon. And if you want, and by the way, third-party parts we're going to open up. So if you have specific parts and pieces that you need, simply send us over a message to support@slant3d.com and we'll get them on the list. They're going to start being added very, very generously. So like if you're just like, I need this thing, and we're like, cool, that thing's in there now. And we'll just do that. So some of the ones that are coming out is like a higher strength charger, some additional light components, different size magnets. So like 30-pound magnets will probably be coming through. Just a bunch of stuff to broaden what the types of products that you can make there on Teleport. But yeah, if you have a specific product that you've been like waiting for, like I need these inserts included with the kit, we're not going to assemble them. But if you need them included with them, we'll add those in too. So third-party parts will become very easy. We may even just create like a submission form to where you can ask for what you want there. Funny story. We ship a lot of parts and we do a lot of work, and we've shipped thousands of parts, tens of thousands of parts. When you do a lot of something, you start to see where the cracks are. We work right now with billion-dollar companies who are supplying us with software. And we see every crack because we push them to the limit of what they like intended. Because I don't want to name any names, but in this particular instance, I can because it's the post office. Everybody whines about the post office. This last week, we had an order where a label was generated going to the correct address with a tracking number. The customer went and opened up that tracking number, and it said the order had been delivered 2 weeks prior to it actually being created and going to a different place. And we were confused as all get out. We were like, it's kind of physically impossible for us to misattribute the tracking number because of a number of software systems that we have. We just can't screw that up. So we're like, how do we screw this up? And then we go and we look at it and we're like, we didn't screw this up. The post office did. The post office had some glitch in their system where they got hit by a gamma ray. I don't know what happened, but they misattributed this tracking number to a past shipment, which was weird. But it's not, here's the thing, when you're moving thousands of packages, that's fairly common. Those types of bugs and errors. Like you realize how often a package gets driven over, how often Amazon doesn't deliver packages on time. Any individual sees it as, oh, this is pretty darn consistent. But we as an organization are like, oh my gosh, things are broken all the time. And it's not. It's just there's a lot of these edge cases that everybody is fighting with all the time. And it's so refreshing when this happens, when you're building a complex system and product system, to see other people also working with complex systems trying to keep it together. Because it's so refreshing to be like, we're doing okay. The bar is right there. We're right there. It's okay. We're doing fine. But anyhow, it was funny. This last week, we did do, I'm not going to say a heart transplant, but a kidney transplant on Teleport. It was down on Tuesday. We did a big old update. Hopefully, none of you guys have seen anything. I recommend going into your account and double checking stuff. Teleport was down for 1 or 2 hours. So if you had orders coming in that time, you might need to manually submit them to us. So that's a check to do. But the upgrade to the system was an actual update of Teleport from our version 2 API to our version 3 API. Calm yourself down. That'll be coming available soon enough. If you're a developer, the V3 is out there. And some people are using it for beta right now. But we were doing that upgrade on Teleport, which will just improve reliability and it will improve analytics, particularly around ShipStation users. So most of the ShipStation users are kind of upper sort of enterprise guys who are doing tens of thousands of dollars of sales. That is, they land right there. Excuse me. So this won't affect most people. Almost everybody uses Shippo because it's the free one. That's fine. Go for it. But we just upgraded it all. ShipStation has been revamping everything a lot the last little while. So keeping them nailed down has been tough. With this upgrade, it should be nailed down. Okay, that should be general Teleport updates. A bunch of videos over on the Slant Pod channel showing off different features and stuff. I mentioned last week that design notes have turned into a digital note, not a physical one inside of the box anymore. So if you get a part in the mail and it seems a little bit off to you, go check the file inside of your files page inside of Teleport, and you'll probably see like a little yellow flag there, which is a design note that has come back to you. Okay, fantastic. All right, the release. The name of the feature that is really freaking sick inside of Teleport is called Portals. You will know more very soon, but Portals will be released very soon. It's going to be a very crisp, very tight product. We're keeping this one pretty close to the chest until we're done and happy and satisfied with it. We're very generally, historically, have always been a very Facebook type of a developer where we're like, move fast and break things. But this time we know exactly what we want from this. We know what users want from this. So we're going to polish it a little bit more and just condense it a lot. It will be condensed. It's not going to have every feature in the thing. It's not going to, but it's going to be so nice. But Portals will be releasing in the very near future, and stand by for that. It's going to be awesome. I highly recommend that if you have not tried Teleport, or if you signed up for Teleport and want to circle back around, Portals will be worth the visit because it's just handy. Oh, side quest 2 on side of portals. A video I want to shout out is over on the Slant Pod channel. We should have a video out about how to use AI to create product photos of 3D printed parts so that you can screenshot the STL and then create 3D printed photos of it that are accurate and can be used in products. So there's that. Okay. How much time we got? Cool, we're good. Let's move on to questions. So, questions this week. If you have a question that you would like to have answered, you have to comment on the podcast video on the core channel. Question, whatever your question happens to be, and we will run through them. Every couple of weeks or so, we collect a bunch of these, and we'll run through them. Okay, so question number 1. Question about the pellet extrusion. Isn't there also an advantage with only heating the material once? Because doesn't it make it stronger parts compared to how filament made plastic parts are melted twice? That is technically true. This is a reference to pellet extrusion. The fact that you're going from the raw pellets directly to extrusion means that it has not gone through as many thermal cycles, so the part should be stronger. Sort of, but the problem with 3D printed parts is that they generally break on the layer lines, which is an interlayer adhesion issue, not a material strength issue. So additionally, the degradation sometimes is in strength, sometimes it's just temperature. So like the more times PLA is processed, the lower its melting temperature becomes. So it varies and it's conditional. But I would generally say that since layer lines are the spots that break in, multiple processing of it doesn't matter. Also, the number of reprocessings that have to be done is like 3 or 4 before you start seeing kind of significant degradation. Extruding the pellets once and then running them through the nozzle again, you're going to have fairly negligible degradation of even strength or temperature. So it's not the terrible worst thing. Question: have you considered adding an option to teleport, allowing users to upload a black and white image logo with predefined dimensions that automatically gets printed on the shipping label or another label that gets used as packing tape? This is per Tony F. Webb. We have, and we are, and we're gonna. Yes, the version of it that will be coming out. Yeah, I can release this. We're gonna turn that loose. It'll probably be a little bit before Christmas when that one comes out, because again, we're working on some other stuff. But you will be able to upload a full image, basically an insert card, basically a postcard, and that will be printed off and be included inside of the shipment for you. It will not be as packing tape, because it doesn't work well enough that way. But yes, you will be able to add information and branding to a black and white slip that will be able to be included inside of there. And then from that black and white slip, we will expand it to more colorful options and stuff as time goes by. But yes, you will be able to include a note or some branded content inside of your box. Absolutely. Question per Andrew De Silva, PLT. What is the progress with the funding from Tangled testing? I recall equipment was crowdfunded and you indicated that materials were going to be tested. They've been tested. A bunch of them have been tested. You can go over the Tangled testing channel, and there's a number of testing videos over there. The Tangled testing channel is, in addition to that, doing kind of manufacturing-focused videos, because it talks about Tangled filament too. So that's made in the USA, how you do manufacturing in the USA, that type of content. I think we've completed about half of the videos that we owe y'all from the Kickstarter. And we have some more. The raw data is filmed for a few others, but we haven't had the bandwidth to get them edited into a presented video. And then, yes, we will continue doing more testing. We have the Tensile tester in place, and the Tangled testing project is still rolling. It's just we have to focus on the core things that we got to get taken care of there, which is making sure that teleport users are taken care of. And that's been taking everybody's time all the way through as we continue to evolve that thing. But yes, Tangled testing, absolutely rolling along. Question, can you wait until after Halloween to discontinue Orange? Yes. Mentioned it earlier in the show. Yes, we will wait until after Halloween to discontinue Orange. And if it goes well in Halloween, great. Here's the thing though, guys, like Halloween specific goods, great idea. It's really good. Do cookie cutters, do nightlights, those kind of things. Actually, an orange nightlight with a jack-o'-lantern on it would be great. And the orange shines fine. But don't get too deep into like Halloween accessories because they're stupid cheap and super low margin. So pick your battles. Don't make like orange skulls, because like people can buy foam skulls for $1 and a $15 or $20 3D printed skull. Better have something special about it. Candelabras are good. Question. Gabe talks about the industry not going deep into FDM. Can he elaborate more on that? What can be done with the FDM industry to make it flourish? This is Priyazan M1. I know right now that FDM parts can definitely be made about 50% stronger in the Z-axis with a few software tweaks. Well, I shouldn't say software tweaks. It's not that default, but they can definitely be made stronger, and they can definitely be made better with good material science. And the good material science is not being done outside of matte colors. And matte colors are not even universal. Matte colors are used by like Bambu Lab and a few of the Chinese manufacturers because they know it radically improves their print quality without having to do anything. But like US filament makers don't have consistent matte colors. Those are very low-hanging fruit options for radically improving product quality and strength and durability and all the rest of it. As far as on the process side of the printers themselves, they don't need to be made faster, but like good design practices are not really very universal. I mean, like on this channel, we talk about good design practices. Almost no one uses them, but we're getting there. This is part of the reason we started the YouTube, is effectively to write the book that people will be taught of how to design for FDM. And when more people know how to design, you'll have better quality stuff. Hopefully somebody trains an AI on it, so AI generates the models the way we want them to be made. The way they should be made, to be strong and reliable. So it's really just the fact that the industry is just so young when there are obvious things that can be done to improve it, but there's not currently either the incentive or the scale to implement them. Because like literally the question is like, oh, Gabe, you know about these fixes. Why don't you go do it? Because our users don't need them right now, and we don't have the additional resources to build out that feature set because it doesn't radically improve the type of products that are being made right now. Especially while we're in the consumer sort of products. But as users come to us and as Teleport continues to grow and people are like, I really, really need the part to be stronger. I figured out how to get it done on my machine. Can you guys implement this? Then we're totally open to that kind of stuff. But there has to be a market demand for it because we got to pay our bills. But yeah, that's kind of that. And this is true for many industries. Like once people knew that a transistor could be made half size, they're like, yeah, 10 years from now, it's going to be half the size. We could buy the fancier machines right now, but nobody's going to buy those chips because they're going to be too expensive. So there's just kind of the age in of the industry that needs to be done. Let's see here. Question colon. It's got to be question colon, guys. Question. Do you do any filament drying in the print farm, or is that not an issue? Depends on the filament. The good benefit we have is that we're not a coastal city, so our humidity is about as low as most people's dehumidifiers ever get to. I mean, Idaho sits at like 20% or whatever it was. So it's not, we're high desert. So there's not a lot of need to dry most filaments for us, but we do. Yeah, we definitely dry stuff when we need to. Because they're super hydroscopic filaments. It doesn't really matter how low humidity is. They're going to suck water out of the air. Okay. Question. So printing multiple types of materials into a single object is out of the question at the moment. Like a 3D printed PLA tank with TPU treads. No, you can do that. You have to print the tank and then you have to print the treads. We don't have TPU right now. But no, yeah, that's super doable. Yeah, there's no problem with any of that kind of stuff. Doing multi-material parts just means designing in multiple materials and then having the parts stuck together. But there is not dual extrusion type of stuff available. Okay, let's see here. A lot of these are from that tolerance video. Okay, cool. My question all the time is... Oh, no. No. Nope, that should be good. I think we got it there. I believe there were a couple of questions. Hang on, let me switch. We moved podcast over to the Slant Pod channel a week ago, and I think a few questions came through there, and I want to make sure that we're not missing them. So let me just do this real fast. This is bad podcasting, but I want to make sure that people get their questions in. Question, I'm interested in starting a sand casting business. Could I use your company to create objects for casts? You can. You can upload them to the teleport prototyper and order the parts you need for the cast. But the build volume is 220 by 220 by 220. Question, when scale capacity for Tangled gets opened enough, will you be doing TPU filament? Not for a while. TPU, the reason TPU is kind of tough to process is because it's compressible. Even when it's liquid, it's still compressible. So getting the flow super dialed in is kind of it's just a lot. And you can have variations, and you just have to keep it super controlled and tight all the way through, which is true of the other filaments, but really true for TPU. So right now we're not planning on messing with it. We'll probably deal with some other types of materials first that are better performance. We probably will release PCTG at some point, or find some better brand name for it. Question, if PETG is produced far in excess of PLA, why are prices per kg of filament essentially the same? And why did you decide to start with PLA for Tangled to drive down prices of filament instead of starting with PETG, especially since you seem to think PETG is a better material? This is an excellent question, as commented down below. This is DJ2725. I don't know why PETG filament is the same price as PLA. You're right. You're absolutely right. The cost difference between PETG pellets and PLA pellets is radical. That being said, PETG requires more processing. It has to be dried beforehand. You literally have to have a pallet of beads, and you have to hot dry it overnight to get it usable, and then you have to maintain that throughout. It's less handy to deal with, and that additional processing is a pain. Additionally, as far as like sealing and packing and that kind of stuff, if a vacuum seal goes bad on PETG, then you have water get in, and somebody's a coastal city, and they're like, "Whoa, the vacuum packaging failed. Just get rid of it all," because they can't dry it. PLA doesn't absorb water. You can have high humidity, like kind of coat the PLA, but that will happen as soon as you break open the package anyway. But PETG to like soak in wet air is pretty bad because you'll get bad quality prints out of it. So that's kind of the reason for the increased cost of PETG. As I say all that kind of stuff, yeah, even inside of Tangled, PETG will likely be really similar to the cost of PLA. PLA is just really easy to process and work with. That's the reason we started with it. We're like, okay, we're going to start making filament for consumers. What is the safest bet to start with? Because we know there are tons of optimizations that we can do to drop cost. And then when we get to a bottom of that, then we can start working on new problems around drying and that kind of stuff to continue going below that, which was the strategy. If you look at the original Tangled video, like the announcement video and the master plan, the evil master plan, we said, okay, we're going to go PLA, we're going to go bigger spool, we're going to do this, and then we're going to move to PETG. That is on the roadmap. We're currently using PLA because since we've gotten big enough, we've gotten really good at sourcing PLA to where the cost is good. The cost is better. But yes, that's the reason for not going to PETG right off the bat. The additional processing of it all creates weirdness, and the additional customer support that comes with it also creates weirdness. That too, the customer support, a lot of people cannot print PETG reliably because PETG is kind of finicky because it's stringy and all the rest of it. But so all those things. Hey, question. Do you think 4 or 5 axis printers will ever catch on? No. No, I don't. They will exist and they will be used in specific cases, but no, there is zero reason for a 5-axis machine because if you're making a 3-dimensional part, the only things you need are 3 axes to move in 3 dimensions. Anything else is an extra component that fails in production and wastes part cost on the machine and increases failure rate of parts and machines and everything else. So no. That all being said, somebody's going to go build them and commercialize them, and they do some pretty cool stuff as an engineer who likes pretty cool stuff. But as a manufacturer, you want the simplest, most basic machine that you can, and that means 3 motors because that's all you need. If a standard 3D printer has 4 motors, it pisses me off because that means it's such a bad engineer that they couldn't make 1 motor to work in 1 axis. This was the case of like the early, whatever, Cartesian bedslinger garbage ones, where you had two motors on either side so that it could go out of whack, and then two motors to jack up your prints, and then they'd both raise them up, as opposed to just freaking making a good cantilever design or not using a bedslinger. Sorry, I'm getting a little off thing, but I'm mad about it. Question. If PLA is dumb because it is so easy to print, what is the best replacement for it for the hobbyist? PETG. You can also use PCTG, but PCTG is really expensive. ASA is pretty good right now. Like most hobbyists with most machines right now can print with ASA. It smells. Question. How do you stay critical over the advice given to you by books and other people? Often I've heard so much advice from people which turned out to be useless because they were a complete different situation and didn't have all the information. They think they had to make the advice. The best advice I've actually got is to not listen to most advice from people. Per fiery transition. This is an interesting one. You want to gather information, which means the opinions of other people. Now, you want to rate that information based on the person. Like, if Bill Gates called me up and said, "Hey, Gabe, this is how you develop software," or something like that, I'd be like, "Okay, Bill, I'm going to take that with a really, really tiny grain of salt because I'm pretty sure you know what you're talking about, even if you don't know the context of my situation." So an expert, even ill-informed, still knows what's right. Like, for example, I know that there are fundamental truths of business that are true of every business regardless. You make a good product, you listen to your users, and then you get better as fast as you can over time. Like, those are universal rules, regardless of where you are. The details of the execution, as in, you should use Facebook ads, or you should use Instagram. If it's a really specific piece of advice like that, you, as the information recipient, need to take that the way you would take a Google search. You're gathering information, you're going to contextualize it in your head, and you're going to make a decision yourself. Someone giving advice is not a command. It's advice. Listen to it. Maybe it's useful. Give it the time of day. Even if I have an angry comment in a YouTube video, I will very often read it and just take like a half second to say, like, is this valid? Nope, they don't know about this, that, and the other thing. Nope, it's invalid, moving on with my life. But you don't want to overlook that because it's people who may have more expertise or more insight than you do helping out. So you're gathering information. Use it for gathering information, but ultimately, yes, you will always have to make your own decision around the details. Some parts of philosophy of like, don't cheat, don't lie, don't murder, those kind of things, kind of universal. If somebody tells you that, you should probably listen to it. Question. What is the secret to photographing glossy prints well? Check out the Slant Pod website. We have pictures of all the colors over there. It's a combination of things. Like it's having a really good setting is more important, as important as having a really good print. Just having a really good setting. I'm not going to fully give that one up because we worked hard to figure that out, and I don't want to just share it around. The other secret is that you can take your cruddy photo, throw it into AI and say, edit this, and it'll clean it up for you and soften up the edges and that kind of thing. The biggest problem with glossy prints is that the specular highlights are all really sharp, which make the layer lines will look worse than they are. So yeah. Question. What is your favorite 3D printer motion system and why? My favorite, which does not mean it's good, is the Triptyron. I highly recommend looking up the Triptyron 3D printer. It is a cool motion system, and I wish it was a better 3D printer, but it's not. It has some fundamental flaws with it. The Triptyron is my favorite motion system because it's just really cool, but the best is a box-based Cartesian, which, by the way, is still not what any of the machines use. No one uses it except Ultimaker and MakerBot because that was correct and it was fine when it was correct back then, and it's still fine and correct right now. The Core XY Cartesian design, I don't care for it much. Yeah. Question: why do so many engineering filaments that claim dimensionally stable seem to shrink a lot while printing? I don't know. But engineering and dimensionally stable means that it will hold its shape. Dimensionally stable doesn't necessarily mean that it will hold its shape during printing. Like, if you print a metal part and then you cook it, it's going to be smaller. It's dimensionally stable though once it's been cooked. So this is around marketing and people's specs and metrics and that kind of stuff. So I don't have really good information on this, but I consider it fair for a print to shrink and still be good material, because plastics just behave in that way, and you got to kind of design around them. Question. How do I buy just a set of all the third-party parts? Currently, support is telling people to order a random test part and then add in the third-party parts. Currently, that adds up to $50. It shouldn't add up to $50. It doesn't add up to $50. I'm sorry. At least half of which is just markup. Could you please offer a prototyping set that doesn't require ordering a part? Okay, so the first thing, if you want to order third-party parts, upload like a little color chip, and get a color sample so that it's useful for that, and then order all the third-party parts. And it will add, I think, maximum of like $3 to the cost of the order. But if you're buying all the third-party parts, you're paying like $50 for all the third-party parts. So you're going to go from $50 to $53 by uploading a very small 3D model, and you can order them all. That being said, I understand that's not a good way of doing that. We are right now working on color chips and third-party part kits, or at least third-party availability for parts. And those color chips and that kind of stuff will end up showing up over on the Tangled Filament website. That's where we'll drop all of that stuff, because that's like the e-commerce spot anymore. But here's one thing that I would say. I think it is incorrect to order all of the third-party parts and start making random items around those parts. Be very intentional around the parts that you're making so that you're focused and improving something rather than scattershotting it all. So that would be my advice there. But yeah, the cost of a little chip to make one print of any sort is like $3 for the packing and shipping of it all and that kind of thing. And then you can add in all the third-party parts on top of it inside a prototyper. And that's an easy way to do it if you want to get all of the parts. If you're looking for a particular part, I recommend uploading the actual STL that you want to test with so that you can actually gain some information around designing for that part in the context of Teleport. So that's kind of the reason we haven't really deployed it yet, is because we're afraid of people designing around a third-party part that they get a hold of. And they're like, well, this is how it's made on my machine. And it's like, that's great, but you don't know anything about what it's made on Teleport. So some of the things that we want to do are actually create some models around third-party parts of like, here's a tight fit, here's a press fit, here's a loose fit through Teleport, so that you can design appropriately for that. And we're like, this is the STL, this was the CAD dimension, this is the actual dimension, so that you know what shrinkage is and that kind of stuff, and go from there. That's just a lot, because you have to do that for every material, every color, and then every model. So if we've got 13 colors and 15 third-party parts right now going to more, 15 times 30, we have to run and create 200 different variations just to create that single feature. And most of them will not be used. Question, can you remake plastic from hemp? Probably. I think it's got fat and lipids in it, but hemp is just easier to turn in rope. Status, I talked about that one. Yeah. Okay, cool. We should be good. That is questions for the day. All right. Guys, I'm going to cut it right there, because we don't have a discussion topic that's good enough for this week, so I'll come back around on that. But yeah, comment down below if you have any questions that you would like to have answered. Again, what your question is below this video or a podcast video, and we'll get to them in future shows, and stand by for the Portals release coming up here very soon in the future. Have a great day, everybody.